Alright squad, so today we are going to be talking about the squat. I'm going to break this video down into two parts. Part A will be about our lower body and how to set ourselves up for that, and part B will be about our upper body and actually how to make sure that we're nice and rigid for the squat. So what do we need to know about squat? Well, in essence, all the squat is the ability to take our torso here and put it between our feet there. So straight away that gives us our starting point, and that's our feet. Where do we set up? Why do we set up the way we do with our feet? So at our first point, or any point of call with any exercise, we want to create stability. So we're going to create stability through our feet by firstly creating 3 points of contact and making sure we have a nice grip of the ground, which is why I'm currently in my socks. So the 3 points I'm referring to, point 1 is in line with our big toe, point 2 is in line with our pinky toe, and point 3 is the ball of our feet. So how do we know exactly where these points are? Well, if you get up onto your tippy toes, those points that are holding you up, those bones that you can feel here are points 1 and 2. Now, if I do the reverse effect and roll back, use that bar, roll back onto my heels, you can feel that point there is point 3. So again, point 1, point 2, and point 3. Now what I want to create is external rotation. Now the reason why I want to create external rotation is because it starts to engage my glutes. This will come a massive factor come later on when we start to move our way up the chain effect. So external rotation, what is external rotation of the foot or the hip? And all that is the ability to go like that. That's all it is. And that's controlled by our glutes, right? But what we want to create is a screw-like effect into the ground by doing this. So we're going to externally rotate or try and screw our feet into the ground. Now what that is trying to do is now put our weight from, instead of being in the middle of our foot and the collapsed arches, we're actually going to roll our feet and our knees out to the outside line of our feet. So it should feel that point 2 and point 3, from those 2 points, all your foot should be connected, and that point 1 will be on the ground with arches through our feet. So we're screwing in. That's the aim of the game. Pretend that I've put skewers through your foot, 1, 2 and 2, and 3 and 3. Those 3 points are to remain on the ground at all times with our feet. If our feet collapse, or if we're not screwing in, you can see already when I screw my feet in, my knees want to come out, right? That's external rotation. Now, if I don't do this, and we collapse in, you can see that my knees want to come in. Now, again, in essence, the squat is the ability to take our body and put it between our torso. Now, if I go and do this and have collapsed feet, there's no room for my torso to go. And we'll talk about hinge patterns, and we'll talk about the difference between a deadlift and a squat later on. But you can see already that how much of an effect just my feet alone are having on my squat because my knees are collapsing in. So again, with our feet, we want to set up slightly past our shoulder width, screwing our feet in, 3 points of contact, 1, 2, 3, weight to the outsides of the feet, all the way through here, nice high arches. Already, that's starting to put my knees in. Your knees are the major players when it comes to your movement in the squat. And the reason being is because we are taught, or people are taught, I don't know if you've been taught, but I God hope not, but a lot of people are taught to sit down to learn to squat. So what a hinge pattern is, this is referring back to the deadlift and the squat thing, difference is that a hinge pattern is the ability to take your hips out and in. It's like a hinge. Right, now, a lot of people will teach you to then go and sit down on a squat, sit down on a chair in order to learn how to squat, right? They're trying to emulate a squat. So they go, oh, you know, what's a good way to do it? Oh, sit down. But you can see that when I go to sit down, already I'm starting to bring my feet in and I'm sitting down like so. Now, what does that look like? And how on earth does that mimic a squat when your knees are already collapsed in, you're looking to sit down, and there's no room for my body to go. So I'm hinging out in order to do that. Now, our squat is about keeping our body up nice and tall and allow our body to drop in, drop out. So our knees, this is the reason why our knees are such a major player in this, in that us to have screwed our feet in, the cue that I use for all my team is that knees out like a ballerina. So you see how a ballerina do these ones, okay? I couldn't tell you what that is, but when we screw our feet in, I want you to press your knees out, and you can see that by doing so, it allows room, and what they call opens up your hips. It allows room for me to come down and into that bottom position. So my knees are coming out, and it's allowing me to come down. Versus if I come down, if I have, my feet here, but my knees aren't pushing out, they're gonna collapse in. You see it all the time. People are collapsing in on their knees because they're not pushing out like a ballerina. So that's my point number 2, is that we set up our feet underneath our shoulder, we screw our feet in, our knees come out like a ballerina. We're gonna start smashing these points out. Screw, knees out. There are 2 cues. Okay, so what am I doing with my backside? Well, my backside's going to already be partially on from the screwing factor, right? So because I'm screwing my feet in, we're going to already have my glutes on. Now, when it comes to also foot position, you can have your feet slightly out. Now, I won't teach my guys how to do that to begin with. And the reason being is because I want that external rotation to occur in order to feel their glutes. All right, so I'll start them with their feet straight and then screwing out. However, in order to allow your hips to open up a little bit better, you can open up. You can also chock your heels if you have poor heel mobility, so you can put things underneath your heels to allow yourself to come down into that position. We'll talk about this when we are starting to do the actual squats in a minute. So continuing on, feet position, slightly out, screwing our feet in, 3 points of contact, knees coming out. Our glutes are on, and we're pressing out like a ballerina. That there is part A. We're going to now move into part B. Okay guys, so part B. Because we are trying to stay upright as much as possible, so we've screwed our feet in, our knees are coming out, and now it's all about keeping this body nice and tight and rigid and allowing us to pop down and pop back up again, okay? In order to do that, we need to shore up our back and make sure that we are not falling forward and falling back. And the reason being is because when it comes to a bodyweight squat, my body is determined by where my body goes, right? That's pretty obvious. I mean, there's no external factors. But as soon as we start putting on a massive load on our back, 40 kilos, 60 kilos, 100 kilos, however many, we are not subjected to where we want our back to go. We're subjected to where this bar wants to go. If it wants to go forward, it's coming forward. If it wants to go back, well, you're falling backwards. And in order to prevent that, we need to make sure that we are up nice and tall when we're doing this squat. So there will be a natural variation or a natural fall forward when we're coming down. But all in all, we want to think of ourselves as a scissor lift, and we want to go up and down the same way. And our legs are, well, the scissors underneath it. I think that's what it's called. I'm not a tradesman. So how do we set ourselves up in order to make sure that we're going to be popping up and down? Okay, so our first point of call is where we're going to set our hands up on the bar. And just like our feet, once we lock this position in, or once we have chosen where we're going to put our hands, they are to remain there because they are going to be the driving force of our tension. So I see too frequently people's hands are out like here. Now, the whole purpose of our hand position is to lock up our back. It's to keep it nice and tight. If your hands are all the way out here, it is very hard to allow or to lock up your back in these positions. We want to use our natural tension and our natural lack of probably flexibility, which isn't the greatest thing, but in this case, it can help us in order to tighten right up. So I tend to advise most people to have their hands about a thumb width out from the knurl. The knurl is where it goes from rough to smooth, or the knurl is the rough part, right? You can bring, if you have better flexibility, absolutely bring it in. I try to, maybe on my heavier lifts, bring it in just a bit closer than say thumb width. That's just me being a little bit more, wanting to be a bit more tighter to the back and probably a bit more excited about the whole lift. All right, so here, from this point now, I'm actually starting to think about locking my back up. So what I want you to do and think about is that in the middle of our back, we are looking to pull our shoulder blades back and down. So the first point of call is back, and that is called scapular retraction. So here what I want you to do is lock your arms out, but drop your chest towards the midline, towards the middle of the bar. When we do this, you'll feel your traps come on, and that's the muscles that run in the middle of the back. You'll feel them come on, and I want you to pretend that I've put a clamp on those back. It's a really good cue, and that is to clamp up our back there. So I'll go and squeeze someone's back in the middle. So now we've clamped up our back. That's part one. Here's the fun part where we go up and under the bar. Now there are a couple heights you can put the bar. You can put the bar at what we call a high bar squat, and that's the position here now. Or we may need to take our hands out a little wider, and we come in and we hit a low bar squat here. The positioning is, well, one's going to give you an anatomical advantage and that's the low bar. High bar is probably going to hit more of a quad. If I was a power lifter, I'd 100% go a low bar. If I was a bodybuilder, I'd probably aim towards more a high bar, because your high bar is going to probably engage more quads slash more legs. So my particular stance is that I'll use the power lifting technique with the low bar squat for when I'm trying to hit any reps, probably 8 and below, and then I'll probably target the high bar squat for anything about 10 and above. But the setup's the same. So for this purpose, I'll show you the high bar. The low bar is no different. So we're going to drop our chest in, shoulder blades back and down, and we're going to put that clamp on. We're coming in and under and put our self underneath the bar. Gee whiz. From this position, we're not even thinking about lifting just yet. We're thinking about setting up our back. So point number one is that I want our knuckles facing the sky. You can see when I let them lax, now the bar rolls back and starts to kink my joint. I want to shore this joint up, make sure that it is nice and tight. So I'm rolling my knuckles to the sky. That's point one. Now the next job is that I want to create a little shelf, and that is by slightly bringing my elbows back so that the bar sits nice and comfortably on my back. So again, we're here, we're dipping in, we're coming in and under the bar, and our knuckles are facing tall. Our elbows are slightly back. Now we're going to use our hands and make the bar feel as if it's a part of us by pulling it down. Or another way to think of that is that you are bending, or you're going to snap the bar across your back the way you would snap a stick over your knee. So you're going to be pulling it down. So again, we're going to try and shore up our lats. This is what we call pulling our shoulder blades back and down. This is the down phase. When we are pulling down with the bar, you're going to get your scapula depressed, or depression of the scapula. So again, clamp on, knuckles facing the sky, slightly back to create our shelf, and pulling down. We're going to pull down through our pinkies here and our hands, keeping them up nice and tall. And it's at this point that we don't want to go straight back. We want to stand up tall and take our little steps back. And that there is how we set up for our back. Again, we want to make sure that our first rep looks exactly like our last rep. And this is where people can get themselves in trouble, and just simple little fatigue things like your wrists becoming lax and coming under, your elbows that were creating the shelf start to roll in and under the bar. These are all little things that you have to constantly check off. So if I was going to cue you on this, I would be like, okay, clamp on, underneath, wrist tall, pulling down and into the pinkies, make the bar a part of me. Ready? Standing tall, little steps, 1, 2, and there we go. It's this point now that we're going to put all of part A and part B together, and I'm going to walk you through every cue that I would use for all my clientele in order to execute a perfect squat. So let's start away from the bar. Point one, we're going to get our hands in the right position. That's start one. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with where my hands are. I'm going to put my clamp on. So again, my cues are hands, clamp. Rolling in under the bar. Standing up tall. All right, my knuckles are pointing to the sky. Shoulder blades back and down, chest up nice and tall. And we're also going to be creating our shelf. So elbows slightly back, stand tall. We're going to walk little steps. And now we're gonna just relax, take a little second, and we're gonna set our feet. Shoulder width apart, knees out. And from this position, I'm going to take a big deep breath in and engage my core. Now, I hate when people refer to engage core, and the reason being is because everyone stands and goes, yep. How do I do it? And the fact of the matter is that the way you do it is you want to take a big deep breath in. Now, a lot of people breathe through their shoulders, so they come up like this. Now, if you take a second and have a think about the way you're breathing right now, are you breathing like this? Or are you taking big shallow breaths in through your stomach? Are you going, oh God, I didn't even do it then. And breathe through the stomach. Now, what we're trying to do in order for you to engage your stomach is I want you to take a big deep breath in through your stomach. And then as if I'm going to try and punch you in the tummy, you're going to brace for that impact so that so your organs don't get all injured and bruised and all the rest of that stuff. So you're going to take that big belly breath of air and brace, and that there is engaging the core. So if anyone says engage your core, that's how. Another really good cue or a good feedback loop for your core and engaging it is grab yourself a belt and tie it so it's firm around your stomach, but not, so you could probably get a finger in. Then what I want you to do is take that big belly breath, and then brace against that belt and try and burst that belt open. And when you do that, that there is engaging the core. You should fill that belt right out. And that's what I want you to do if you use a belt in order to do it. So we'll go through the squat process again. Set your hands and set your clamp on. Coming in and under the bar, knuckles to the sky, pulling the bar back and down, elbows to create a shelf, and from this position, stand tall. Little steps out, relax, feel the weight, set your feet, shoulder width apart, slightly out if you want to, knees come out, and then big deep breath in, push the belt apart, and from here I'm just going to drive my knees out, stand up tall. And here's a little bit of a confession. I did leg day yesterday, which was really dumb, and my legs are screwed. So I can't actually execute this lift without looking like an idiot, but I'm going to give it a go today. So here we go, good God. This is gonna hurt. Clamp on, pull the bar down, nice and strong, weight to the outside of the feet. Oh, yowie! Oh man. Okay, that's all you're getting out of me. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed our tutorial of squat. I hope you understand the execution. This is pivotal that you keep yourself nice and rigid. Again, follow our acronym, step by step, rep by rep. STEP, the acronym is stabilization, so make sure you stabilize all your muscles first. Make sure that you're ticking all your cues and your checkpoints off. Tension, make sure you're feeling it through your quads like I just did. E, execution, so make sure, again, this is the rep by rep. We want to make sure that you're executing each rep exactly, like your first one will look exactly like your last one, and then that's when we track our performance. So enjoy, you guys, execute these tips, and your squat and overall leg development will shoot through the roof. Enjoy.